evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome you to your favorite show, and that is Men. Now, today we are going to be talking about something very interesting. To some people, it might be something they've experienced, and to others, it might be something they've only heard of. It's called alcohol addiction. Now, we're here at the Pearl of Africa Hotel, and with me is my favorite Msoga, Colin.
Ah!
Yes!
I am not a Msoga. It's first of all.
And he's in denial, like a lot of Masoga. But eventually he'll come to our side.
Make me cross river.
Now, our special guest today is actually Isha. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yes, good
Thank
to
you
have
so
you.
much.
Good to have you here.
Same.
Now, gentlemen, alcohol addiction. Before we went on air, our dear friend, Mr. Controversial, was saying he doesn't believe in it. Yeah. So I'll just ask you, why don't you believe in addiction?
For it to be an addiction, you have to believe or accept an addiction. It's part and parcel of African culture, to drink.
Mm-hmm. Actually, all cultures.
Yeah, all cultures drink. So
no, but go on.
We have, our fathers have drunk.
Mine did.
Yours didn't, but mine have drunk. And if you can handle it, there's this perception that you cannot handle. I handle alcohol. I drink, but I handle it.
Isn't that what all alcoholics say?
No, I don't. I feel like religion, and I know religion has brought its perceptions of alcohol and made it look like it's something that that is so illegal.
Yeah.
Alcohol is cover. It's fine. If you can handle the alcohol, if you go to work, you pay your bills. If you satisfy your woman, what is wrong with alcohol?
To do that.
And honestly, what is wrong with people?
Many times when your history is very short-lived, i.e., if you're young, you don't have the background knowledge.
Yeah.
So for a lot of communities, the reason why alcohol was the default drink for hydration was because back then there was no concept of clean water. So alcohol or fermented drinks provided a source of refreshment because they didn't poison people. So people could drink.
Is that a fact?
Yes. It's when the world evolved from wine and port and started drinking tea and coffee that you see it sparked off the intelligent, the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, because people actually started thinking. People stopped being drunk. Yeah. In African cultures, yes, alcohol was used to celebrate, but it was also largely the safest sort of consumption beverage that wasn't poisonous. So the idea that you could drink from a stream, but how sure are you it was going to be good or clean? And so that's sort of where you come from with that. And yes, alcohol has been a large part of merrymaking and celebration in a lot of cultures. It is true that if you consume it in
large amounts, true.
Yeah, I think that we should talk about large amounts when we talk to Isha now.
Okay, because he's large. He has capacity. Yeah. All right, Isha, I'd like to hear from you. You are somebody who has fought addiction.
Yep.
Okay, you've been through it, so you actually have an experience.
Yep.
Why don't you just give us, in like 2 minutes, what your experience was?
Okay.
Like?
First off, I just want to make a clear distinction. I agree with you on most of what you said, because not everyone who drinks has a problem with alcohol. In fact, there are people who have the ability to drink safely. So when you talk about addiction, we're talking about problem drinkers. Because the word addiction or addict has some connotations around it. Many people would not like to associate with it. Yeah. And so we use the term problem drinkers. And simply, if your drinking is causing problems in line of your work or in your social life, then it's time to consider that probably there's a problem.
But just before you proceed,
yeah.
When you say if it's causing problems,
yes.
Okay. But you see, problems are
relative.
Relative, yes.
Yeah.
Because you see, what might be a problem to you may not necessarily be a problem to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I might go into a bar, have a drink, get excited, get into a fight.
Yes.
I've caused a problem for somebody else, but I go home and say, oh, that was a good night, because I got into a good fight.
Yes.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So how do you know that now, all right, this is now becoming a problem to somebody else?
Oh. Typically, most people start off as social drinkers. Most people eventually become addicted to alcohol. And so they start off as social drinkers. They can drink and function in all other areas: sex, marriage, work, and any other aspect of their lives. Then, after a while, because addiction is a progressive illness, it's an illness properly defined by the World Health Organization. So, as an illness, it's progressive. Over time, it gets worse, and it also has symptoms. It has social symptoms, and then it also has physical symptoms. One of the symptoms are that it damages the liver, and it has also other effects on the body. Socially, because an addict typically cannot control the amounts of alcohol they take.
Is that a fact?
It is a fact.
But you help me here.
Yes.
I'm not an addict. You know. I
No,
can
no, no.
control-
Yes.
So,
He's
so,
not
so
talking
maybe
about
No, he said.
Yes.
Let me reiterate what he said. He says that an addict is someone who.
Yeah, I mean, who can't control? That's what I'm saying.
So maybe you
Control is
explain
just
about
one
control.
aspect
Yeah,
of
we'll
it.
talk about control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Like-
Stefan, I think for a moment, let's first leave you out of the picture.
Yeah.
Let's first see about the addicts. Then we'll get back to your problem.
Where I'm coming from is
know
I
the
want
problem.
to understand.
Yeah.
Why can't you just say no? I mean, you've had one too many to drink.
Yes.
You don't have to. That's the reality.
Yes.
Why can't you just say no? I'm done.
A lot of the information I have is retrospective.
Yeah.
I got to learn this much later.
Yeah.
The reason why an addict cannot just stop is because the way they respond to alcohol physically when they take a drink is different from the normal drinkers. When I say normal, it's simply a matter of numbers. There's normal, which is the norm. Most people can drink and stop.
Yeah.
And then there's abnormal. There's a certain number of people, a category of people, when they take any amount of alcohol, the body reacts in a very different way. The body demands for more. So they begin taking a little more than they did the first time. And when they take a second drink, the craving just keeps increasing. So over time, say on any sitting, the problem begins with taking the first drink.
Okay.
You take a first drink, it sets off a craving for another drink.
Yeah.
When you take a second drink, the craving for the third drink is even more. And that's the person has no control over that. It's simply body chemistry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So which means there are people who are predisposed not so much to alcohol addiction, but to addictions. People who have addictive personalities.
Well, there's with addiction, there is the physical aspect, which is the body, the physiology, and then there's the mental aspect. If we're talking about alcohol, we're talking about both the physical and the mental.
Okay.
And when you talk about addictive personalities, some addictions are behavior in nature. They're not substance abuse.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's, like gambling or something like that.
Right. Chris, is drinking bad?
Drinking what? Tea?
Drinking
Water?
The sunrise is
Take a drink.
do people breathe
You ask Chris,
oxygen?
you know.
Yeah, that's what
You
I'm
ask
saying.
Chris,
Is
and
alcohol
there's a way.
consumption bad?
I don't think so. I know you're shocked,
Yes.
but I don't think so. I think where I have a problem is when the staff drinks you. He's lived through addiction and he's helping people who are dealing with that. But I personally have not ever sat through a bottle, half a glass, or any of that. And it's because my personal story is that I come from my dad's side. There was a lot of beer and drinking and all that. And it's a happy family. We're, happy campers.
Yeah.
Okay. But most of the time when the uncles and guys were done, so we, the younger kids, cousins and all that would come and, bottom up
dregs,
the remains of that stuff. So you sort of are trained into it. So it wasn't uncommon to have guys. By the time you're 12, you can actually do your bottle, right?
It wasn't bad.
So this is my story. Coming to yours. But so my first trial was my uncle after whom I was named, Chris Nsubuga. He was a heavy drinker. He took whiskey and all that. And so I really wanted to try out my first try with his bottle, with his glass. It was a short, sturdy glass, and he had done like a Johnny Walker, something hard. Looked light, but no bubbles. It was a hard drink. So I pop it into my mouth, and it's the bitterest, toughest thing I had ever taken as a kid. So I spew it out. And that was my interpretation of alcohol. So I'm like, there is no way in my world.
There's no motivation.
That I'm ever going to take something bitter, and I don't understand why people take bitter stuff and enjoy it.
Yeah.
But that was my experience, and that's sort of what kept me away from it. Now I know that there's been arguments, whether you're talking in the church circles or not, is alcohol good or not and all that. There's scripture actually where Paul writes to Timothy and says, drink a little for your health, because some alcohol, little amounts of alcohol can even be used to treat some ailments.
Those ones that
Okay.
Colin was talking about.
So I know that biblically drinking alcohol or wine is not wrong. The problem is when you get back to the wisdom book, Proverbs, I quote it a lot, but when Solomon writes and he says that wine is a brawler, in fact, I memorized the scripture in Luganda. It says omwenge mukudazi. Htami is something. It's like it just brings shame to you. So when you get to this level, where the bottle, you start by drinking the bottle, and then it gets to a point where it starts drinking you, and then it takes over you and your faculties and how you behave like to your loved ones, to society, in your workplace. When you get to hear stories of people who are struggling with addictions, they don't like the way they live. They don't like what happens when they're drunk and gone, and your loved ones are afraid of you. Like there's a time, my dad, there's a time he was really, really heavy into this, and he came back home, and I was really waiting for him. I had to see my dad before I slept, and so we sit at table, and he served food, and it just goes into the plate. That memory has never left my mind. But what that does to your family and the impression it gives you, he's not like that anymore and stuff like that. But
you cannot unsee what you have seen.
You can't wipe that out of a kid. Or if you beat up your child in a rage because of the influence of alcohol, and they can't relate with you. I think that those are the problems with alcohol. And I don't know, I know some people who, what did you call it, safe drinking? I know some people who do safe social drinking, and I know a good Lord who don't, who are it's drinking you.
All right, so Stefan, if I may find out from your point of view, what you've just been telling us very proudly that you handle your bottle well.
Yeah, I handle my bottle, and I think
how do you know when you've had enough?
Okay, let me say this, and I come from a different cultural perspective. When you get circumcised, you're given a bit of alcohol. It's something that has been in my family for the longest time. Alcohol has been part and parcel of my culture, my society, where I come from. It is something that is we are used to. And I've seen my father, I've seen my grandfather, I've seen my mom drinking, and none of them has absconded from doing their duties, family duties. All of them have worked, they're all retired right now, and none of them has had any problem. And that's why I was reading something the other day, and there was an argument about introducing alcohol to kids. There's that argument that should it be introduced to kids at a younger stage?
Underage drinking.
Yeah. But to me, I feel like if someone can control the alcohol, to me, I don't have that Dutch courage. I go to work every day. I pay my bills.
Now we do have to go into a break, but when we come back, he's mentioned something about children. And Colin, you'll need to tell us, because somebody told me that you started drinking as a very young child. Should alcohol be introduced to children so they can get it out of their system, or should it be held up from it? Now, we are here at the Pearl of Africa Hotel, and we are talking about alcohol addiction. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. In case you've just joined us, we are here at the Pearl of Africa Hotel, and we are talking about alcohol addiction. Now, children.
Talking about addictions.
Yes. Should children
I was
be
about to catch an addiction from Stefan's boring monotone.
Now, should children be introduced to alcohol so they can get it out of their system at an early age?
No. Children haven't earned the right to drink alcohol. In every culture, you look at alcohol is the preserve of old people, and it is something that is preserved for them. For it's a reward. It's not a boon. It's not a sweet you give to a child. It's a reward for a long hard day. You take it to celebrate.
What about in
something.
small quantities?
Why would you give a child alcohol in small quantities? Because all it does, exposure to substances and narcotics, including alcohol, only builds up the body's tolerance for this stuff. And therefore, consequently, you need more and more in order to achieve the same effect.
What about what about the forbidden fruit?
What forbidden fruit?
Yes, you keep it away from them. You tell them it's bad, and all they keep wanting to do is go for it.
Yeah, but you see, what are you talking about? You're talking about underage pregnancy, unwanted pregnancies, teenage pregnancies, everything that's wrong when people eat when they eat the forbidden fruit when they're not supposed to eat it. So it's possible to educate your children about the dangers of alcohol without exposing them to it.
Yeah.
You're about to say.
Yeah, in addition to what Colin just said, you know, when children's brains are developing, and when you introduce alcohol to them at that age, it interferes with the brain development.
True.
It's a known fact.
Yeah, you see, like
So
people introduce the fun to alcohol now.
I was not a child. There's a difference.
adult.
There was a difference. I was
Was
not a
that
You would
child.
never say that. he was a child.
Listen, what we need to
Unless you were born
emphasize
fully
is
made.
control. Not alcohol is not the
All right, so
problem.
I want
Okay,
to say
so
something.
Stefan,
I want to sort of speak
alcohol
into
is not
this
a problem.
situation. I want, and I this is going to sound callous and insensitive, but you know that the people who get addicted, this is not you. This is not about you.
Yeah.
Just because you're here and you're within, punching distance. This is not about that.
Yeah, and
But people, you can't. Okay, let me talk about when I was younger, and Peter knew me when I was younger. When I was so broke,
And you're still a drunkard.
I was a drunkard, but I never could get addicted to anything because I didn't have enough money to buy the alcohol. Make me have an addiction.
yeah,
And so in a lot of cases, this is something we don't talk about. Like, by the time you get an addiction, you have access to money or access to product in order for you to have an addiction.
But Colin, are you aware that in some cases, addictions are enabled by family and friends?
In a lot
Yeah, so sometimes you may not have it on you, but it's a
Someone's
it's
always buying
enabled.
you drinks.
Yeah,
yes.
you have friends who
There's a cabinet at the house. Yes.
when somebody is addicted and they get the obsession to consume the substance or the activity, that obsession to consume overrides anything else. And so eventually what happens is most addicts will either slowly or quickly slide into poverty. Now, it's very well known that Skid Row or finding addicts on the streets is very commonplace. And yet, these people are able to continue with their addiction. So the addiction has very little to do with the finances that somebody has.
Yes, but the journey from normalcy. So I agree that when you're addicted, it's easy. I mean, you will do anything to find the habit.
Yeah.
But the journey from normalcy, from being a
Chris.
Yeah.
A Christian,
from being a guy
What are we talking about?
a guy who was no consumption
Yeah.
to a guy who now finds it compulsive. He's in the state of compulsion. He has to find alcohol. I think that journey there, which is, by the way, the most critical journey, because that's where you establish controls, it's where you establish discipline, it's where you say, you know what, this is my limit. that journey there, my experience is sort of like, if you don't have a lot of money, you just drink what you have.
I don't agree with that, and I'll tell you, ideally, in an ideal situation, that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
But how many people take loans from banks to drink? How many people borrow money from friends to drink? Ideally, if you don't have the money, don't even go to the pub in the first place.
Yeah.
So, question is, how do you know? I mean, so what? Yeah, where do you draw the line and say, you know what, this is it?
Yeah.
Beyond this, now I'm toast.
How do you know you're an alcoholic? You know?
Okay,
And I think
I'll share my story. I started drinking, the first time I took alcohol I was a kid, like you, I once was a kid.
Like,
I wasn't a kid. I was not a kid.
Don't worry.
Listen.
Relax.
Listen.
Story.
You know, I say this. In my culture, you're given alcohol once you're circumcised.
Yeah.
You're not a kid.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
How old are you?
It doesn't matter.
It does not matter. Even if
13,
I'm
In his
Something
head, it doesn't
it
matter.
doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you're a man at
considered a
12.
man.
Okay, fine. Chakalam. Fight for culture. Keep it.
So I took alcohol when I was a child, but serious drinking started when I got to secondary school. Then I was introduced to the drinking, and then it got worse. I mean, I was able to increase my drinking over time, but still, I studied, I went to school, finished, started working, and I could function normally in almost every respect. Now, the problem happened that I began experiencing issues in life, accidents, brawls. I go to the bar
With that body, yeah?
It's bound to happen.
well, I'll go to a bar with no intention of spending all the money that I have, and then it's 4 a.m. and I am broke.
you have money for Rolex and Boda.
Absolutely. And
I've been
even when it runs out, that's no guarantee that you'll stop, because then you can talk your way into a drink or two from
Credit, yeah.
from the barman. So the critical question is, how do you know? Most people, by the time you begin asking questions about your drinking, maybe it's a problem, I should stop, maybe I should control, maybe I should change bars, maybe I should change drinks. That already is a sign. I think in a general way, we can say if you have tried anything to control your drinking, then it's beginning to be a problem. And some of the things we do, we change brands, we change bars, we change friends,
Women.
we possibly,
Friends.
yep, friends or girlfriends. We also change drinking patterns. We might say, I need a foundation. I need to eat before I drink.
Yeah.
I need a spacer. If you've tried all those things, I need to drink at home more. I should take a little at the
But
bar.
you know,
then
but
drink
you,
at
but,
home.
but let me interject.
No,
But you know,
wait.
when you listen to most of these brands, they
Yes.
tell you that, you know, you need to eat before you drink.
Uh-huh.
So how does it make me a
Hey,
drunkard?
hey,
If you
wait,
if
that
you
tells
if you want to control,
No,
you know,
you've
if you want to
ju-
control,
you've just proved that he's an
listen,
addict.
no,
That's why
no,
he's standing out.
yeah, because I'm
So you're an addict,
you know,
right?
he's saying that everyone is an addict, you know, basically saying
No,
that.
no,
Listen
not
to
you.
When you need
Listen
to
to
start
what the man
we're
is
putting
saying.
measures
What's
If
in
you
up?
place.
never
No.
get to a point where you're taking measures to control your alcohol,
Yes.
then
You have
it's
an addict.
time.
Then-
Wait, he said we have a problem. He then says you're
But
addicted.
control, you know, and I said it early on.
Stefan.
We need to push on control. There's nothing
Alright,
wrong with
so-
that.
so-
And
wait, but
that actually is
The
the problem.
guilty run when no
Because-
one is chasing.
The moment you talk about control, then it's out of control. Simple. Because other people, let's call them social drinkers, don't ever think about what they'll eat before they drink, how much they will take, because they just get up and go.
They just show up,
Yep.
and when
That's
they're done, they
it,
leave.
yeah.
But I want to sort of talk about, is it possible for you to just expand about, and this is maybe, it may be so much, it may be more about the psychology than actual physical substance. The fact that alcohol lowers your inhibitions, and how that speaks to, in a society where people grow up, they're so wound up tight. I mean, you see Chris sometimes and he's just about to snap. He's wound so tight. Sometimes, I mean, we used to have a guy on this show, and we come to tape, and like you can just look at his forehead, and like all his dates are just written there, and you know, so like
Somebody called Chris a Titus.
You know what? I can't take it.
no, it's not. It's
That plus lots more utopia and all that stuff. And at the end of the day, when you want to come and experience my world, I'll take you to my place.
And you will see.
And you'll see all my friends and the people. And it's not utopia. It's a real happy place. And it's not uptight. Just because I don't drink doesn't mean I'm
No,
uptight.
I don't
I
drink
mean,
that, but
look,
I-
this is my tea. I enjoy my tea.
Your point is
I was sort of
very well
speaking,
made,
yeah, sort of speaking into that situation about, because alcohol lowers inhibitions,
Yeah.
and people, I think that people like to be in a space where those inhibitions are lowered, where I don't have to control myself, where I can tell Stefan exactly what I think of him, and I can tell Peter to just, walk away, just leave this situation because he can't control it. Whereas normally, during the day, I'm such a,
Uptight guy.
I'm a calm guy, I'm inhibited.
Do you know what? There's a thing where someone says, "Kangende ngumunywere."
Yep.
Like, let me go and first charge a bit. Then I'm going to tell you.
Peace of my mind.
Yes.
Yep. No, but it's true, and that cuts across. I mean, everybody drinks alcohol, not because of the taste. Alcohol across the board is not the tastiest drink. I mean,
But
there's
isn't it
juice
an
and all.
acquired taste?
It is an acquired taste, yes.
Yeah, you want to make
And-
it sound sophisticated.
Yep.
My childhood tongue said it's a yak taste.
It's like coffee. Or you grow into it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
true.
or you acquire the taste for it. It's not the tastiest drink. Everybody drinks alcohol for the effect. Everybody.
What it makes them become.
Exactly.
And I think,
Let the man finish. Gosh.
Let Colin speak.
The effect is simply it relaxes. It's a social lubricant. Since recorded history, it's known that it's been a drink for celebration, merrymaking, all kinds of social occasions. So alcohol is not a problem. But there are some people who cannot handle alcohol.
We drink to that, man.
Yep.
Amen.
so is it possible,
Yeah.
if what you're saying is true, that
Yeah.
people go in for that effect,
Yes.
and then you get hooked on that effect? So,
Yes.
so
It's creating
you get hooked on that sense, that relaxed, happy sense,
The new
Yep.
you.
the euphoria that so then, yes, you're drinking the alcohol and you're addicted to it, but what you're always chasing
Is the
is
height.
the hype. That's
And,
like
and you can control that height, like you like I said earlier
Yeah.
on, when it reaches a point where you have to pay your bills, you
Yeah.
have to go home, you're taking care of your family. If you can control it, is there a problem with that
It's
height?
only a problem when you call it a problem.
This guy is a very sharp guy.
Here's why.
You see, there's
Here's why,
responsible
Stefan.
drinking.
Here is why. It doesn't matter. I mean, I know my drinking was causing problems. And as far as I was concerned, the problem was elsewhere, but here. And everyone talked. I lost jobs, I crashed cars, I ran into trouble with the law, I got into debt, almost everything worthwhile was not going,
was not
you know.
working out there.
But I still felt the problem was elsewhere, but there.
Okay.
And everyone else can see there's a problem. I mean, Stefan, I can see there's a problem, but
We'll be the last and final session
yeah,
of the program that's talking about alcohol addiction.
Yeah.
And what we want you to tell us
Yes.
is, what do you do
Yeah.
to pull yourself out of it? Because I believe
Yeah.
the only person who can deal with it
yeah.
is you, not anybody else but you. We'll be right back
I think
after
that
the
you're
break.
misguided.
No,
You're misguided. That's wrong. That's what social support systems are.
but
Welcome
it
back
is
from
your
the break.
it is your decision.
We're still here at the Pearl of Africa Hotel. And as you can see, Peter is being his difficult self. But we want you to enjoy this show. Follow us on our Twitter handles, which are under. Go find us on Twitter. The hashtag is NTV MEN. Find our Facebook page. Follow us and engage with us. Now, as we were talking in the break, Peter,
As we were saying.
your very difficult personality.
I'll tell you what, I think, and this is just my thoughts,
Yes.
I stand to be corrected. I think sometimes you've talked about it, we blame everybody else. We expect everybody else to sort us out. And we don't take charge of our affairs.
Yeah.
So we'll say if my social setting does not support me, then hey, I'm sorry, I can't get out of this. But the decision lies with you.
Peter, this gentleman here, God bless his soul, he just came out here and said, sometimes, or was it Chris? Someone said that the society and environment which you are enables it. If society enables it, why can't they help
You
you
have
get
a
out of
choice.
it? What choice?
I'm saying support is all right, but you can't say if without the support I can't get out of it.
That's so true. You see, the problem, when somebody gets addicted, they need help to stop. But that help is only useful until, when the person says,
When they
I
want to be helped.
When they
You
want
can
to
only
be
be
helped.
helped
Yes.
if you want to be
When
helped.
they
Absolutely.
accept that it's a problem.
Yep. I might say I have a problem, and I did for the last.
I was just clearing my throat.
Sorry.
The last 7 years of my drinking, because I drank for 20 years.
Wait, how old are you? Like this? Because now I'm
Yeah.
interested.
Yes. For the last 7 years, it was very evident to me that I had a problem. But I didn't want the help that was available. I had this very persistent delusion that I would stop on my own one day. And I seemed to glorify that, the need to
That the power to control it.
control. I need to stop it my way. I did it in fact, my way was my song. I did it my way. That was my obsession.
But you stopped it, right? You stopped drinking.
the help
I
of-
stopped drinking,
It's going to tell
but
you how.
I got the help.
I didn't
And
ask how.
that's what I want to say. If,
Yes, talk to us about that.
yes, the help is available, but only if somebody wants it, because it only works when somebody wants to be helped.
How did you get out of your addiction?
The first thing is that alcohol itself was the persuader. It was the main persuader. I mean, I drank myself to a point where I had to admit that smart as I am, big as I am, intelligent as I think I am, maybe there's some truth in the idea that this alcohol is causing a problem. And alcohol itself persuaded me with all the catastrophes that were around me. And then after that, I became open to the idea that I could be helped. So I sought help. One of the ways I sought was I started saying I needed to be helped. And then some family members came and helped me. I began seeing counselors who were able to help me through the problem. And it's a journey. We say recovery is a journey. Not that when you stop, everything will suddenly come back, but
Because
if
that's
you
how
are-
life is.
yeah. But
Life doesn't stop.
but it starts with the stopping. The recovery has to start with the stopping. If you've lost the ability to control your drinking, it's medically proven you'll never get that control again. Some people think if I stop for a year, if I stop for a few weeks, then maybe I can control. It's permanent. It's like we've lost our
virginity.
lives. Absolutely. Exactly.
You lose it once.
Moving on swiftly. I mean,
So basically what I'm getting from you is that
Yes.
there is no control. When it comes to alcohol, you either stop.
He said, no,
Yes.
Once you've lost-
welcome back to class. so he said, when you lose control, once you lose control,
So you
You
believe
cannot-
that there-
Ability to control.
The
so
ability to
you
control,
believe that there are
you'll
people
never get it back.
who can control the alcohol, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so-
no,
so-
no, you,
so
you,
you
you
Thank
no,
you.
no, no, no,
Thank
no,
you.
no,
No, we are done. We're
no,
done
no,
with
no.
that.
So the problem
Done
is
with that.
you have to listen.
He's stuck in the first
you can't
segment.
listen to one, you can't listen to one half of the sentence and then take out. That's not how this
No, I
show works.
listen. I listen.
What he said is, if you have lost the ability to control, so if you become addicted
Yeah.
and you're confirmed to be addicted, it is almost impossible. You will never be able to be in a place where you can come back
To social drinking.
To social drinking,
Yes.
where you say, I will test one just for tonight
And go home.
and go
Because
home.
once you
you
do
can
that,
never go
addiction
back.
comes
So which
back.
is why most times the most successful recoveries are those who never
Just
go back.
stop. You just
They
don't
just
do it
you
again.
do a hard stop and they never go back the rest of their lives.
But
20, 30
even
years.
then, they need, it's a change in lifestyle. You can't say I've stopped and then continue.
Going to the pub.
Same
I mean,
friends.
if you stick around the barber
what
shop.
I would want to ask you is, do you think like there are certain occupations that encourage people to?
So you think like
To-
being a
to-
radio
Like a radio presenter, for example.
yeah, people like this guy, celebrities.
Yeah.
Peter is not a celebrity.
Incidentally, statistics show that alcoholism is an equal opportunity disease. You'll find it and
What are we doing? You're saying it's not gender sensitive.
it's not gender
What do you
sensitive.
mean?
It has no respect for
Social class.
for social class, economic class, education, race. You see the same levels of addiction across the board. In the village, in Hollywood, it's the same. So, Stefan, you need to
No,
think again.
I
No,
can't control
okay,
my-
one of the things which Colin unfortunately thought that I threw out is a social support system.
Yes.
Question is alcoholism sometimes as a result of your support system?
Are you wearing corduroy trousers?
Yes, I am. Very expensive. For that matter.
Yes.
So
Because
shiny. Are they soft?
because sometimes because there are a lot of people who get into drinking
Yes.
out of peer pressure. Because
Yeah.
your friends are doing it, say, come on, try a drink.
Yeah.
And you try, you want to go home. They say, we're all going home. Have one.
Yeah.
Then it's something you get into.
Yeah, it does happen. In fact, there are situations or some social setups which are enabling to an alcoholic. And for example, you may find a wife who enables the husband. When he comes home drunk and is not able to go to work, she will call in and say he's sick and make excuses for him.
Yeah.
That is enabling, because now the guy knows I have a
What
PA
you call it,
who will always deal
So-
with my hangovers. It may be a mother or a father who gives the son money or daughter,
Knowing very well.
knowing very well that they have a problem.
Yeah.
It may be friends who know they've got this friend who is a problem drinker. However, we say that the world is not going to stop for you to recover.
Yeah.
So all that may happen, but recovery is possible even when all these things are going on. Ultimately, somebody has to get to that point and make a decision that I need to stop.
But sometimes could enablers not really know that they're enablers? And I'll give you a simple example, like
Yeah.
what you've mentioned.
Yeah.
I'm a parent, all right, my child has a problem.
Yeah.
When I don't give them money, they go and steal from the neighbors and get beaten up.
Yep,
Aren't I better off giving them money and saying, look, why don't you control your drinking?
exactly.
Kind of like, why don't you take slow poison? At least you'll
Because if I
still
don't
be
give him
around
the
and
money,
they
at
won't
least
give
he's not
you
gonna
the
get, he's not going to be killed
Yes.
there by the
yeah,
neighbors.
not quickly, but slowly.
That happens
I sort of want to-
surprisingly a lot of times.
Yes, I want to sort of speak to this again, and I said this a lot on the show, and it gets boring and tiring. But the story of shame for us is so important.
Yeah,
That Peter, as a parent, full-grown, sizable man, in his mind, it's more shameful for his child to be beaten by the neighbors than for him to say, you know what,
Stop it.
here's some money, stop what you're doing, or
Yeah.
So, and I think it's sort of like that thing where people tend to think it's about them.
Yeah.
So parents think, oh, my child being beaten is shameful on me. No, your child losing their life to alcoholism is a
Colin, that
problem
is
for
a
them.
very, very critical point. We run an outpatient treatment center for alcohol, and we've seen a trend. There's a lot of stigma and shame around alcoholism, to the point that families are willing for their sick child or relative to die in silence than the label addict to come out, because many think
so and
it's
so's child is an
Yes.
addict.
Social
So and so's
absolutely.
brother.
Exactly.
But you know what that is? That's this whole society thing of bananda wawatia.
Yeah,
How will
exactly.
people see me?
Yeah.
How will people know that people in my family are
it's a
alcoholics?
proverbial Ugandan problem. The whole thing of being very outward looking and minding what others think about you,
yeah.
as compared to owning up and saying, look, this is a problem I have. And I've got to deal
But
with
you know,
it.
sometimes, Chris,
And
it's-
that's usually the issue there.
But sometimes, so you see, sometimes it's not my son is an alcoholic, because there's someone on the village who knows, who say, that boy, even their grandfather. So all of a sudden, yes.
Yeah.
So now all of a sudden you're just like, ah. So I would rather just contain the situation.
No, unfortunately.
Huh?
Yes,
No.
unfortunately,
I'm
we
just
reached that point.
talking.
Yes.
But I just need to hear.
Peter.
I just need to, which you are making very boring. I need to hear something from you.
Yes.
Is alcoholism genetic? Because there are some people, as you said, say, hey, my father was a drunkard, my grandfather was a drunkard, my great grandfather was a drunkard. What do you expect?
It's a proven medical fact that genetic predisposition
Yes.
happens. It's a material fact. However, when somebody is an addict, what we say is the donkey is in the ditch. It doesn't matter how it got there.
Yes.
What matters is how we get it
gonna
out
out,
of there.
Yeah.
Because it really doesn't matter. Some people are predisposed, others are not.
Yeah.
The other critical point which you were making about the
We'll take this
family.
as your parting shot as we wrap up.
Oh yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Why
There's
don't you just
help
go?
out there.
Why don't you just leave the show?
Let's let the man talk.
Yep. There's help out there, and when somebody gets addicted, they need help, but so does the family, because many people pattern their life around the addict. So there's support out there. If anyone is having a problem, there are treatment centers, there are support, 12-step support groups like Alcoholics Anonymous, and other groups like Al-Anon, which support the family and friends of alcoholics. So just look out, talk to a doctor, a priest, Colin, or even Stefan. There's help out there. Yeah.
Great stuff.
Can you go next? He was really going to go.
No, I did ask him, like, how do you deal with, the cultural aspect of it, a society that believes and understand that, alcohol is not a problem.
That's not yours. Is a parting shot, Chief. We
You,
have to take-
you asked me
We'll
what I
have
wanted
to
to
take-
ask him.
We'll have to take that one offline.
But it all comes down to you accepting that it's a problem. Alcoholism, it's an addiction. Addictions, it starts with the individual. Once you understand that it's an addiction, you can deal with it. But from where I come from my traditional and cultural beliefs, we were taught to control alcohol. I've never seen it as a problem.
Okay, Chris, your parting shot.
Just thinking through this, I'm reminded of Proverbs 31. And in Proverbs 31, it's written by a king called Lemuel. And his mother told him that, do not give yourself, my son, to the things that destroy kings, women and alcohol. And the moms told him, give alcohol to those who have problems, that they will forget their problems even for a while. And I think that it's possible that some people may get into drinking to forget, the issues that they're dealing with and don't want to face them.
Or might just be
But
drinking
parting
forever.
shot, okay, and just to forget what the issues are. And I know that that's not everybody, but there's some people who are like that. And I think that in some ways we need to wade through. If you're at a point where it's getting out of control, we need to wade through your kingly side, the most productive part of you, that society really needs, the father in you, the mother in you, the professional at work, or the leader in the society. There's that part that's useful for everybody. Are you going to give that to us as a gift in the society, or are you going to allow yourself to be drowned by the booze and deny us the gift of who you are? And I think that if we can also wade through that, it might help some people to make that decision to say, look, I want to show up as the king.
Good stuff. Colin, your parting shot.
I want you to sort of speak to, just go back again about your center, what you do, and then speak in sort of answering Jakalam what it means for people to be able to stand up to cultural norms and why that's important. Why we must have the courage to break traditions in order to overcome some of these things.
Thank you.
Oh, you'd like me to?
Yeah, I'll just sort of
Yeah,
close.
we run an intensive outpatient center. It's the first in Uganda, where people can come, get the help they need, and go back home, as opposed to a residential center. So we are targeting people who are still working, who are still functioning, but have a problem. or students who don't have to be interrupted.
What's it called?
Africa Retreat Center. We are in Bukoto. So at this center you come. We have psychotherapists, counselors, we've got doctors, and the help is available. I'm a trained recovery coach personally. The fact is that alcohol is drunk across all cultures. But we have to stand up to the truth that not everybody is able to drink alcohol safely. And it's to those people that help should be given, you know. There are those who are able to drink and enjoy, they can control and enjoy their drinking. We are not crusaders about not drinking, but all we're saying is that there's a problem. About 10% of the population of drinkers have a drinking problem and they need help. So we need to recognize that it's a problem, it's addictive. And by the way, about 50% of social drinkers are on their way to being addicts.
Addict, yeah.
Only that it's still in the early stages. Yeah.
All right, great stuff. You've heard it from Isha. Thank you very much for coming and for
Thank you, Peter.
opening some people's eyes. Now, we've been here at the Pearl of Africa Hotel and we've been talking about alcoholism. Is it something that you are fighting with, or do you know somebody who's fighting with it? You go to the Africa Retreat Center and you can get help. I believe that the first person to help you is yourself. So if you have a problem, you know you have a problem, and start dealing with it. Have a good night from all of us, and God bless.